a lion he crouches, and as a lioness, who dares rouse him up? Genesis 49, 8 through 12 is about to be quoted right here. So what Balaam is doing is he's bringing together Genesis 12:3. I'm going to bless those who bless you and curse those who curse you, and in you shall all the families of the earth be blessed. And he's going to tie it to Genesis 49. The scepters, the ruler's staff will not depart from Judah. So Numbers 23 verse 24 is virtually a quotation of Genesis 49:9. Behold, a people as a lioness it rises up, and as a lion it lifts itself. It does not lie down until it has devoured the prey and drunk the blood of the slain. So essentially, what Moses accomplishes as he quotes this Balaam oracle for his audience, Moses says, remember Genesis 12, remember Genesis 49, these are threads of the same promise. These promises hereby are woven together. And God is going to bless all the families of the earth through this conquering seed of Abraham, this royal seed of Abraham who's going to come from the line of Judah. That's what's being said here. As Moses, in essence, interprets earlier prophecies through this prophecy that comes from the mouth of this pagan Balaam. Verse 25, Balak said to Balaam, do not curse them at all, and do not bless them at all. Just stop! We've had enough of this. But Balaam answered Balak, did I not tell you all that Yahweh says that I must do? And Balak said to Balaam, come now, I will take you to another place. Perhaps it will please God that you may curse them for me from there. Let's try this from another angle. Let's go get another look at these people from another spot, and we'll see if you can curse them there. Numbers 24, verse 2, Balaam lifted up his eyes and saw Israel camping tribe by tribe, and the Spirit of God came upon him, and he took up his discourse and said, the oracle of Balaam, the son of Beor. The oracle of the man whose eye is opened. The oracle of him who hears the words of God, who sees the vision of the Almighty, falling down with his eyes uncovered. How lovely are your tents, O Jacob, your encampments, O Israel, like palm groves that stretch afar, like gardens beside a river, like aloes that Yahweh has planted, like cedar trees beside the waters. I think that Balaam looks at the camp of Israel, and what he uses to describe them is imagery that recalls the Garden of Eden. The camp of Israel is like the Garden of Eden. They are like trees that Yahweh has planted, that are beside streams of water. I would suggest to you that this is garden imagery. I think it's garden imagery here, Garden of Eden imagery, and I think it's Garden of Eden imagery in Psalm 1. Blessed is the man who doesn't do these things, but his delight is in the Torah of Yahweh, and on his law he meditates day and night. He shall be like a tree planted by streams of living water. And the word for planted there, this is not a tree that we dug a hole and we put a seed in the ground. This is a sprout that we took from one place and planted in another place. And the word for channels of water there, those channels are not naturally occurring stream beds. These are cultivated channels that a gardener has cultivated. Verse 7, water shall flow from his buckets, and his seed shall be in many waters. His king shall be higher than Agag, and his kingdom shall be exalted. And then look at this again in verse 8. Just as Numbers 23, 21, and 22, we had the shout of the king, and then God bringing them out of Egypt. Now in Numbers 24, 7, and 8, we've got the king is going to be higher than Agag. His kingdom shall be exalted. Verse 8, God brings him out of Egypt, and is for him like the horns of the wild ox. So there's another bringing together of the king and God. He shall eat up the nations, his adversaries, and shall break their bones in pieces, and pierce them through with his arrows. And I think we can think in terms of Psalm 2. He shall rule them with a rod of iron and dash them in pieces like a potter's vessel. And then here's Genesis 49:9 again in Numbers 24:9. He crouched He lay down like a lion, and like a lioness, who will rouse him up? Okay, so there's Genesis 49:9, and here comes Genesis 12:3. Blessed are those who bless you, and cursed are those who curse you. It's like Balaam knows the Bible. But I think it's probably not that he knows the Bible. I think the Lord is inspiring him to use this language that is the exact language of Genesis 12 and Genesis 49, because God wants to show to His people this is how the promise is going to be realized. Through this royal seed of Judah, who is seed of Abraham, who is seed of the woman. And that part's about to come in the next Balaam oracle. Look at verse 10. Balak's anger was kindled against Balaam, and he struck his hands together, and Balak said to Balaam, I called you to curse my enemies, and behold, you have blessed them these 3 times. And then down in verse 14, now behold, I am going to my people, come, I will let you know what this people will do to your people in the latter days. So Balaam now is going to prophesy about the latter days and how Israel is going to triumph over the people of Midian. Verse 15, and he took up his discourse and said, the oracle of Balaam, the son of Beor, the oracle of the man whose eye is opened, the oracle of him who hears the words of God and knows the kingdom of the Most High, who sees the vision of the Almighty, falling down with his eyes uncovered. I see him, but not now. I behold him, but not near. A star shall come out of Jacob, and a scepter shall rise out of Israel. Now this language of a star shall come out of Jacob. Jacob is the father of the 12 tribes. His name was changed to Israel. And the idea of a star coming out of Jacob, this is reminiscent of language that's used elsewhere to describe a royalty arising, being brought onto the stage of history. And then that is reinforced by this next line, a scepter shall arise out of Israel. So the scepter and the star, these communicate royal dignity, royal glory, and royal authority. This scepter, this is going to be the rod. This is the same word used back in Genesis 49, same word used over in Psalm 2, rule with a rod of iron, dash them to pieces like a potter's vessel. So this is going to be an authoritative and glorious king. Question?
Do you think there's any significance to the fact that they're using Jacob instead of Israel?
No, I think they're set in parallel with one another, and they're just used as synonymous parallelism, just poetic variation there. I think that's all that's happening. And then look at the next words. It shall crush the forehead of Moab and break down all the sons of Sheth. I think this statement, it shall crush the forehead of Moab. This is the scepter and the star. I think this is an allusion to Genesis 3:15. Now, when I was in seminary, both in master's and PhD programs, it was very common for me to hear there are no allusions, and I heard this even you'll hear this today. There are no allusions to Genesis 3:15 in the rest of the Bible. There aren't allusions to it. If it's so important, if it's so significant, why don't they quote it or allude to it in all of the Old Testament or in the New Testament? Why is it never alluded to? And I think that the answer to that is it is alluded to. You just don't know how to listen for the allusion. Okay, so the reason people make that claim is because there's this very rare verb used in Genesis 3:15, this verb shuved. Which means bruise or crush or something like this. This verb doesn't appear elsewhere in the Old Testament. However, there's a whole series of verbs, and the main one is the one that we have here, and this verb is makatz. This one shows up right here. You have makatz, and you have a whole bunch of others. And if you want to read more on this, I would refer you to my essay, The Skull-Crushing Seed of the Woman. And essentially what has happened, I think, is verbs that are synonymous with this one, like makatz and all these others, these get used because they're more common